Hi Siri, I'm looking for a new podcast, one that preferably is hosted by a UF Hall of Famer, one that airs every weekday that would bring me everything I need to know about the Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions. Siri, is there such a show?
Have you heard of Pod Up with Matthews in the morning on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, or any podcast platform?
Oh my gosh, why didn't I think of that? UF Hall of Famer Shane Matthews has a show every weekday. I'm going to go check it out tomorrow. Thanks, Siri.
Good morning. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the program, Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Glad you're along for the ride today. We will have JC here in just a second. We'll have Mike Morgan from ESPN get his thoughts on college football, what's going on in this crazy world, and also a little college basketball. Tonight, the Gators host the UConn Huskies, who are number 5 in America, roll into the O'Connell Center. That is on ESPN2, I believe, at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some other news and notes. DJ Lagway, the quarterback that the Gators are wanting and many others want, supposed to make his announcement today around 4 o'clock Eastern Time. He's a 2024 kid, so everybody thinks we're going to get him, and maybe we are. It's just interesting to me with Rashada coming in. There's only 1 year apart between these two kids, so I don't know what's going to happen there, but we shall see. Let's head to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Corn Dog. Good morning, JC. You have Tampa Bay Lightning sweatshirt on and an Alabama hat. Do you still like Alabama, JC?
We're number 8 in the country, bro. What are you talking about?
Are you excited about the Kansas? I saw today, I did not realize this. Y'all are playing Kansas State. I doubt Bryce Young. I doubt Will Anderson. I doubt any of those guys play. But they're playing the Sugar Bowl. Did you see the kickoff time for that game?
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. It's all because of the scheduling of the 2 semifinal games. So
has the Sugar Bowl ever not been on like 8:30 Eastern Standard Time at night?
Well, they're not going to go up against the semifinal game.
No, I said, has it ever not been at night?
Not that I'm aware. But I will tell you that the NFL has taken New Year's Day over. So New Year's Day has been kind of blocked out because of the NFL. So that's why. There's your answer. But, look, QB, it's a glorified exhibition game. Okay? It's a scrimmage game. And by the way,
so are we going to see?
Yes.
What's TJ Yeldon at quarterback for y'all?
For y'all. By the way, when I said we're number 8, I was referring to our spectacular basketball program. But no, this is an opportunity, as Saban has said, and this goes for all schools, to showcase one more time what you're capable of doing. But the guys who are going in the first round probably don't feel like they need to do that. Young and Anderson and many others are probably examples of this. And this is what our bowl system has turned into now. And that's through the changing nature of college football. And these bowl games have just become, again, glorified scrimmage. Now, Deuce Vaughn for Kansas State, he's ready to go. He's going to be in there, and he's going to play hard. And he's going to want to do well, as will Will Howard of Kansas State. So
Will Howard is a freshman, so he's going to play.
No, I mean, they're going to play their guys. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he's a freshman. They're going to play their guys. But let's say Martinez was healthy and had a great finish to the year, which he did not. There's a possibility that he would not have wanted to play in this game for Kansas State. So, it's too bad, really. It kind of tarnishes some of the excitement to these games. I do think games like the Rose Bowl will feature the Utah quarterback. He'll play, I would guess. And, I don't really care who plays for Penn State. I don't know many. Oh, well, Joey Porter Jr., for prime example, defensive back, or a quarterback, rather, for Penn State. Very highly anticipated draft pick, will not be playing. He opted out of this game. And we're talking about the freaking Rose Bowl, which is like every Big Ten child's dream to go play in that one. And Joey Porter doesn't care. He's just going to get himself ready for the draft. So that's what we have now. And once the playoffs start, I don't know. They're going to incorporate the bowls in the playoffs in 2 years, which is what they'll have to do, because for most of the major bowl games, these events have become more than not much more than just glorified postseason exhibitions.
All right. Got a bunch of Facebook lives I need to get to. I got a public service announcement here first. If you ordered one of your shirts, they will be shipped out tomorrow. If you have not paid, you need to send in your payment. Okay, there you have it.
Don't mail it to them unless they pay, QB. How
well,
about that?
I mean that my people ain't gonna do that. Trust me.
Well, then your people might have to hunt down the dead.
No, I just said my people ain't shipping anything until they are paid. All
Okay.
right. Ted says on Facebook Live, Shane, do you think Billy's interested in any of the Bama offensive linemen in the portal? Yeah, he is, just like every other team, though. I do know that Tommy Brockermeyer looks like he will sign with TCU. They have a relationship with Spike Dykes, living from growing up in Fort Worth. Is it Sonny? What did I say? Spike, his dad?
Spike. Yeah.
Sonny. Andy says Sam Hartman looks like he's going pro unless he gets big money. Do the Gators come up with that for the QB they want? I think Sam Hartman's on their list, but I think Sam Hartman was asking for too much money from what I've been told. Some of these guys are outrageous. I did see, JT Daniels is going back into the portal. He's transferring for his fourth time.
That poor guy.
Do you know he made in the high six figures last year from West Virginia? That just blows my mind. Just blows my mind.
I'm glad I didn't write the check.
Yeah. Bill says, when can we start signing players from the portal, and what are we looking for? We're looking for everything and anything, Bill, at every position. If the problem is, and Gator fans need to get a hold of this, just because we're looking for a crap load of dudes in the portal, every school's looking for a crap load of dudes in the portal. Even I know Georgia didn't sign one guy out of the portal last year, but I can promise you, if a Will Anderson type player or somebody like that went into the portal and Kirby Smart wanted him, they're going to make an offer to him. So it's just a bidding war is what it is. It's a bidding war, and it's the worst thing that ever happened for college football, or college athletics. I say. Greg said, I saw a post that said Florida's talking to Slovis and some other QBs I've never heard of. What do you think? Don't believe everything you're reading, Greg. I will say this. You're probably not going to have whoever we sign is probably not going to be somebody that y'all are really excited about. But if it's who I think that it's going to be, I'm excited about it. Mike says, if we get the QB from Tulane and a few other players, how many wins can we get? The kid from Tulane is a player, folks. Well, he is a really good player.
There might be about 10 or 15 teams out there that want to get the kid from Tulane. So
that's the problem. We're not the only one that wants it.
Right. And
everybody wants it.
It's what I've said a long time ago. This is a sales gig. It's a sales job now. And you got to sell the program. And Billy's good at that, I believe. But
he is. But here's the thing, JC. So you got to think about it like this. Let's just use the kid from Tulane. His name is Michael Pratt, by the way. Like I said, people probably don't know who he is. He's from Deerfield Beach, Florida. Really good player, but tons of colleges want him.
Yeah.
But he's not in the portal.
Well,
he's not in the portal yet because he wants to play. What are they playing in the Cotton Bowl?
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't blame him one bit. Tulane, when's the last time they went to a New Year's Day Bowl?
1940.
Yeah. So, but you got to remember, here's the issue that the Gators have going into the portal for the quarterback position. Okay. Yes, do we want a guy out of the portal? You damn right, we got to have somebody. The problem is, though, they've already offered whatever kind of deal to Jaden Rashada, who's going to be here on campus in January. So if you're that player in the portal, if School X is giving you a couple $100,000 more, you're probably going to go there because this kid coming in, they're paying him a lot of money.
Well, it sounds like Florida's made their play.
Well, I'm just thinking out loud. I mean,
yeah,
that's the problem with how this works now. That's the problem. And it stinks.
Well, Florida didn't have to call Jaden Rashada.
John says, does Georgia look attracted to Justin Flower? And does he go somewhere that he knows he will? I don't know who Justin Flower is.
QB, Florida didn't have to call that kid Rashada. They didn't have to call him.
Well, they didn't call him. They're signing him.
But they didn't have to pick up the phone and write a check.
Right.
Whatever the hell
they didn't. But I think the longer this goes on, I think he will probably be the starting quarterback next year.
Well, there you go. You got your guy.
I'm not happy about that. Nothing against Jason. Nothing against him. He may be a great player, but I want somebody established. And the longer this goes on, I can understand why kids, they want to go get paid and be the guy. Not saying somebody out of the portal won't be.
That's what this kid just did. He did exactly what you just described, and Florida took him. So,
who are you talking? We didn't take anybody yet.
Well, Rashad is who I'm
That's
talking
a kid in high school, JC. I'm talking about portal people.
I know, but portal people.
I'm just trying to explain. I'm trying to explain to people, if we don't get someone from the portal, that's the reason why.
Right. So that's what I'm saying, is that the reason why was perpetuated by two parties coming to an agreement. That is Rashada and Florida. Therefore, the portal becomes secondary. And
well, it's not secondary for us, but it because of the dynamics, it probably will. John says Justin Flo, I guess his name, however you pronounce it. He's one of the top linebackers coming out of high school. Never heard of him. I don't know where he plays. Don't know anything about him. Joseph says, Shane, do you ever see it getting to a point with the portal that these colleges go to war over tuition cost invested and wars over money for kids? They invest this money into 1 year to transfer somewhere else. Look, I think it's a disaster. Tony says portal people matter too. I agree with you 1,000%. We need a portal quarterback. But you're right, JC. Think about, because JT Daniels, use him for example. He wanted to go to Oregon State last year, but Oregon State wouldn't give him what he wanted. It was money and a 4-bedroom house. I don't know what West Virginia gave him, but it was upwards of 6 figures.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. I mean, you're not going to hit on everything. It's no different than the stock market. But you got to think, we just paid this guy, let's just say $600,000 or $700,000, and he was not very good.
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that the folks who paid him, they're the ones making the investment, and they're the ones who should be expecting the type of return that investment requires. And it seems like, if we are going to do bidding wars, basically what you have to do is just figure out what fits your mold and try for that. You can't get everybody. You can't hope for everybody. You just can only fit what it is you're good at and what you want to do. And Billy's defining that type of player right now. And hopefully he'll find enough of those to make his roster what he wants it to be.
Well, I said this yesterday on a podcast with Steve Russell.
Yeah.
Florida's roster in January will be way better than it ever was this year.
Right. And I think we've all agreed, QB, that this past season's roster was the worst he would have talent-wise.
Right. But my point to the whole story
that's not a big statement.
The point to the whole story was all the texts that I've been getting the last week. What's going on in Gainesville? Well, we're 12-13 in the last 25 games, folks. Yeah. That's telling you what's going on. Tom says DJ, I can't pronounce his last name. The quarterback from Clemson is rumored to be looking at Florida. That is not true at all, Tom.
Uwe Ungalele.
Yeah, y'all can have him in Tuscaloosa, but there is no way in the world he will be wearing orange and blue. I can promise you that.
Yeah.
All right. So,
how about the kid from Virginia that set all those records? Is
Brennan Armstrong? He's in the portal. I mean, I don't have a problem with him. I think he's a really good player. He had a bad year this year, but the previous few years he was great.
Well, he had a different coach, QB. He had Tony Elliott. I mean, Bronco Mendenhall, Tony Elliott, different coaches. You got some
text here. Text here on the Titan More text line from an anonymous texter. He says the Pratt kid from Tulane looked pretty impressive. I'll say he's a very good player. I heard we contacted Devin Leary from NC State. What do you think of him? I like him a lot. He's a very experienced guy. But again, it's one of those deals where what people don't understand, these guys, they have agents now. So they are setting their price. If they're not getting that price from School X, they're moving on. That's what they're doing. They're saying, okay, we will put you in our top choices, but we want $2 million. Yeah. I'm just throwing a number out. $2 million. And if School X says we're not interested in paying you that, they're moving on to somebody else. That's how it's working out there. It's crazy. Coaches absolutely hate it. Another text on the Titan More text line. Have you seen any of the possible landing spots for AR? They are saying that Tampa and Detroit are really interested. I have not. I don't follow the NFL, but I would be shocked if Detroit takes him.
No, they're not taking him.
And I would be shocked if Tampa took him. So,
yeah, I don't see that either. I really don't know who's going to draft him with their number 1 first round draft pick.
Here's another one. Howard. Howard says 24/7. Again, don't believe everything you read or hear is saying the Clemson QB is considering you. I'm telling you right now, people, he has zero. I have a better chance of coaching today, being announced as the coach at I'm going to say the Dallas Cowboys, Green Bay Packers. You have a better chance of that than him being a quarterback at Florida. I'm serious. There's no way. Because the reason we are going to the portal is to find an established guy who can read, run an offense, throw completions. Okay. Yeah. Somebody tell me if DJ Uiagalelei can do any of that. Absolutely not. Okay. Yeah. It's simple. Don't believe what the problem is on Twitter, because I saw this, somebody showed it to me. They're like, look, he's right here, says he has an offer. It was from when he came out of high school. And somebody retweeted it. So anyway, are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Darring Weeby, a realtor, Caldwell Banker, MO Paris will provide you with fast, friendly, reliable service. Call her today at 352-562-1411 to help your dreams come true. Got JC on the Titan More hotline.
Rebuilding a team.
We'll have Mike Morgan. What are you saying, JC?
It sucks year after year having to rebuild a team. It seems like every year Florida goes through this process.
It's every school now. Year. I have a very, very close friend who is very close to the Alabama program.
Yeah.
And he literally told me he's not sure he thinks Alabama will lose 3 or 4 games next year.
Yeah. Well, I think with there's a couple of things working now that are changing everything. Well, there's a lot of things, but it will, I think, spread the wealth. Yes, if that's what he's saying.
Well, he says they're losing their best players, and they don't have those best players to reload like they've had in the past.
Well, that's because those best players that they
are in Georgia.
They're going other places.
Yeah, they're in Athens. All right, I want to read. I look at YouTube. I get some of the comments. I got a couple here. We got people that dog us a lot, JC, but I like to read these. This is from a gentleman. His name is Shane1178. He says, Shane is a Napier apologist. Last year, the Gators were better in every statistical area on the field with a team that didn't want it. Napier has been horrible. A ton of close games, lost to rivals, and he didn't blow anyone out while having more talent on his team than 10 of the 12 teams they played. He's horrible, and Florida had a horrible year.
10 of the 12.
If you listen to this program on a consistent basis, the person who runs this program or whose name's on this program stated that the Gators would go 6-6, and if they won 7 games with this talent, that he should be coach of the year. And by the way, we were not better the previous year in every statistical category. So you're wrong there. But that's your opinion, and I have zero problem when people disagree with me. That's what makes sports talk radio.
I mean,
but again, I don't know what games you watched. If you think that we had better talent than 10 of the 12 teams we played, you're crazy as hell.
Well, I mean, the record shows what it is, and there's nothing mysterious about any of this. There was nothing mysterious about it. The only thing I think that surprised me more than anything were the losses to Vanderbilt and the close, almost loss to South Florida. I guess the win against Utah surprised me as well. But, Utah is sitting in the Rose Bowl right now as a Pac-12 defending champion. So, QB, I was listening to all the experts. Danny Cannell likes to think of himself as one, talking about how horrendous the SEC had a year they had. QB, who has the most teams in bowl games of any conference?
Who has the most teams?
What conference?
I would say bowl. I haven't even looked at it, but I'm going to guess it's a Power 5, right?
Well, so who
Big
has
12?
Which conference has the most teams? No, Big 12 is third. It's the Southeastern Conference. They have 11 teams.
Well, I mean, I thought it was a trick question.
Well, no, but I'm just saying this guy is talking about what a horrendous year the SEC has had. So let's talk about head-to-heads against other conferences. Oregon, what did they do with Georgia? What did Utah do with Florida? What did Texas do with Alabama? What did Pittsburgh do with Tennessee? What did Clemson do with South Carolina? What did Cincinnati do with Arkansas? Who won those games? Was it the SEC team? Yeah, it was. And by the way, since we're talking about division conferences versus conferences, the SEC was 10-5. That leads the country. So the horrendous year that Danny Cannell, see these guys like this from Florida State, they're so desperate to be heard and to be noticed, right? They won 9 games this year at Florida State. You would have thought that the Seminoles were thought of now again as the team that we saw back in the 90s, just because they won 9 games. That's how excited they seem to be. And then they go run their mouth about the SEC. Here's
the thing.
It's like they're not winning anything.
I think I said on this show, and I know I said on the broadcast, Florida State had a great year. I went into that game thinking I went in there thinking we were the better football team, that we had a chance to win the game before the game even started. After watching tape on them, I do not think they're very good. I think Oklahoma's going to score 50 minimum on their defense.
Well, they might score 50 on Oklahoma's too.
Well, that's true.
But the point is 9 wins. All of a sudden now you're back. And listen, I'm happy for Norvell. I actually like him as a coach. But Florida State has been so irrelevant for so long that I guess it does make sense that you would have people who played for you who are now in the media start talking crap about other conferences because now he feels good about his 9 wins. I don't know. I
think you should start a Twitter war with him, JC.
Well, I don't really find the time to do so. I wouldn't want to spend the time.
You have plenty of time. You have plenty of time.
I wouldn't want to waste it on that, but I just am noticing it, so I guess I am. So, yeah, I mean, Danny Cannell, was he a good quarterback, QB? How good was he?
He was a good player. He played in the league for a while.
He did play for the Giants. Didn't he play for the Giants? Yeah. But, Florida State hates Alabama, and you know why they hate them? Because Florida State's demise began after Jalen Hurts threw for 60 yards, and they beat Florida State 24-10, and they destroyed DeAndre Francois' career, and they ended John James Fisher's career at that school. That was the beginning of the end for Florida State, and they will always hold it against Alabama. I don't understand that.
You love John James Fisher.
John James Fisher got his big win to get to win number 5 this year. They're very proud. I will say this about A&M. You have to tip your cap to their fan base for putting up with his sorriness and putting 90,000 fans in that stadium when LSU showed up. So, hey, God bless A&M. If they're happy with those 5 wins, God bless them. They're Texas A&M.
Let's get to this day in sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat. Schedule your air conditioner's tune-up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air. Call us today at 352-376-2366. JC, we got 2 great things that happened on this day in sports.
Okay.
The first, let me find it. In 1996, in the 5th SEC championship game, our Gators whipped y'all's ass 45-30. All right. And then you got me coughing now. Then in 1985.
I'm on antibiotics finally. I gave up.
You gave
Go ahead.
So your tennis and drinking V8s didn't work.
Tried.
In 1985, the 51st Heisman Trophy Award. Do you know who won it in 85?
Gosh, 85. Gino Toretta. I don't know.
Gino's my age.
Yeah.
Maybe the greatest athlete. He might be the greatest athlete to come out of the Southeastern Conference.
Oh, there's so many. I don't
No,
know.
I said athlete. That means the word athlete.
Bo Jackson.
Bo Jackson.
Jackson. Yeah.
The word athlete, people think that they say that guy's a great athlete. just because he can jump and run fast does not make him a great athlete.
Well,
this dude could play multiple things. That's a great athlete.
I saw him hit a home run in Tuscaloosa against a high school teammate of mine who played for Alabama, and he hit the ball over the light fixture in left field. Had to be 500 to 600 feet. Had to be. So Bo Jackson was. I think if you have a Mount Rushmore of athletes out of the SEC, he would be certainly there. And we could think of a couple more, but there are two that didn't play in the SEC that I would put on Mount Rushmore as just being college greatest athletes of all time. And Bo's there, Dion is there, and maybe Charlie Ward. Because he played
easily.
Yeah, so those three are on Mount Rushmore for greatest athletes of all time, and it'd be easy to come up with a fourth. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah, so we just got a text on the Titan MR text line. There's only two players who can be in the conversation about athletes, Dion and Bo. But yeah, you got to throw Charlie Ward in there.
Charlie Ward played for the Knicks. I mean, he started in the NBA.
JC, are you going to survive?
Damn infection that followed the virus. I learned about all this yesterday with the conversation with a doctor friend. It's fine when you get an antibiotic. I just hadn't done it in 10 days, and I was fighting it, And I'm still functional. I mean, I play golf, play tennis. I'm just not as good. I'm feeling weak. When I played golf with you a couple of days ago, I just didn't have the energy to hit the ball. But, I'm not going to sit on my ass. I got a battle. QB.
Yeah. All right, before we let you go, Mark says, seeing the mass exodus at Tennessee.
Oh, really?
A few years ago.
Oh, okay.
This damn thing drives me crazy when I'm trying to read it.
Yeah. I love you being
how they've been
in
front. Yeah, look, people. Look, you can say what you want to say about Billy. You can have your own opinions about Billy and his staff, about time management, play calling, that, and the other.
You got him for 6 more years.
You cannot argue that the best players on the football team were kids they brought in. So you have to trust the evaluation process when it comes to talent level. And the roster will be better when they come back after break. I don't know when the kids that are signed early get here, sometime in January, and then the portal will be adding to it. So JB says he challenges you, JC, to golf and tennis.
Who does?
JB Wilson.
JB Wilson. Okay, JB. Make sure you know what you're getting into, JB.
Maybe we'll have a loser leave town match between you two guys.
Well, maybe JB will take over the podcast.
JC, real quick before we let you go, and we're going to get to Mike Morgan. We'll talk to him a little bit more about it. I know you haven't really. You were hyping up your Alabama basketball team, but the UConn Huskies are rolling into the O'Connell Center tonight.
Watch out,
Bobby Hurley or Danny Hurley. They're number 5 in America.
Tenacious basketball team. You're going to see guys getting after it on defense. I hope Florida's ready for this. I kind of doubt it. These guys are tenacious. I watched them play Alabama, beat them by 18 points out there in Portland. These guys are the real deal. You'll be very impressed with UConn. By the way, Aaron Judge looks like he's going to stay in New York. $360 million over 9 years. That comes out to $40 million a year. And how in the hell does a guy named Trey Turner get $300 million to play in Philadelphia as a shortstop? QB, I don't know where this money comes from, but you're in a place right there in Las Vegas where there's a lot of it. So just be careful at the tables. Okay, my man?
Yeah. Well, Trey Turner's a very good baseball player, JC.
Think about $300 million. Think about that. He ain't A-Rod.
Baseball money is crazy.
He's not A-Rod. And it's just like, wow, where does this money come from? Because I don't watch this stuff. I watched one baseball game from start to finish maybe a couple months ago for the first time in 10 years. I don't know where it comes from, QB. You have to tell me. Ask Mike. Well, actually, I don't care. I'm just saying that it's incredible the numbers that come out at the Major League Baseball level. It's unimaginable, really. It's unbelievable.
JC, we got a lot of doctors on here giving you a home remedy to get you well. They say you just need a pound some bourbon.
Oh, okay. Well, I got Buffalo Trace sitting back there. I got all kinds of good stuff back there. I don't drink liquor. I'm not a big liquor guy. I usually have that stuff for all my guests that come rolling through here when they do. But I try it. I got some Buffalo Trace. I got some Whistle Pig. I got I could give you a lineup on the next show Friday and get everybody excited, but I appreciate all the concern. It does make me feel warm inside, and I'll get this thing knocked out here with a couple of antibiotics. By Friday, you won't even hear me cough.
All right, JC, go take a nap. We got to get to Mike Morgan.
All right, sounds good. We'll watch.
All right, that's JC. Join us on the Titan Memorial Hotline. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll be joined by Mike Morgan from ESPN. Get his thoughts. I got a couple of questions that y'all sent to him. I'll get him to answer those. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. Time to pay the bills, and we appreciate all these great sponsors. Our premium sponsors, Crime Prevention Security. That sound like Tyson. Is Mike on yet? Meldon Law.
Okay.
Peachland Dental. Comfort Temp. Is Mike on? Kinetics. Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER. UF Bookstores. All right. Celebration Mike Town Center. Chris Doring Mortgage. Silverback Concrete.
Jason, can y'all hear me?
Ruse Ogra. Doreen Weeby Realtor. Our touchdown sponsors, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care,
Hello.
Gator Bait Media, Okido, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills, MB Listing.
Yes, we got you.
McDonald's Gainesville.
Yeah, I was listening to talk about Florida State. I've got them in the Cheez-It Bowl as well as the Myrtle Beach Bowl.
Quaker Sporting Goods, Silver Cube.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Nike, International Diamond Center, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Escape Apology, Visors, Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We'll see you at Celebration Point where the Gators go to celebrate. Going to go to the Titan Memorial Hotline now. We're joined by Mike Morgan from ESPN, who's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Good morning, Mike. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well, Shane. How are you?
Doing good. Hey, before we jump into a lot of stuff, Tony on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, had a question wondering why, when you broadcasted the Gators in Stetson, is the travel budget back to like when COVID? Because you weren't courtside, right?
No, that was initially, and I will be courtside for a couple Gator games in January, but initially that was supposed to be on site. Pat Bradley and I were supposed to be on site, and long story short, after some things came down the budgetary line, all of a sudden a lot of the games that were scheduled in December went from on site to at home. So that is why that happened. I'll spare you the how your average announcer feels about that. It's obviously a greater challenge when you're not there, and so on and so forth. You just you do the best you can. But that is true. That is why. I do know this. I have most of my SEC schedule, and I think I'm on site every game. So I think that's trending in the toward the positive as compared to last year, where it was about maybe 2/3 of the games we were on site, and 1/3 of the games we were not on site. So I hopefully that'll be the trend going forward.
Yeah, we just got a text regarding that from William. He says, So, Mike, when you're on site, do you get paid more or do you get paid the same if you're doing it from home?
we getting into personal rates now? No, we all get paid the same regardless. That it doesn't change our compensation, but obviously it costs money to send me and an analyst who happens to live in Boston to Gainesville, and then you get rental cars and hotels, and I mean, you get people always think that we just go out and run these extravagant dinners. We get like $50-something a day, or maybe it's $60 a day now. So one trip to Dragonfly, or I still haven't gone to Spurrier's place yet. That's gone in an instant. That's your whole per diem for the day. But obviously, it costs money to travel announcers. That's why you've seen some networks go to this. It's not a COVID thing anymore. If you see that going on, it's a budgetary thing.
Yeah. All right. So were you okay with the 14 playoff?
Yes. I didn't think, just like when we go to 12, I'm not going to shed any tears for 13. With a 14 playoff, I'm not going to shed many tears for 5. And I wasn't going to shed tears for Alabama or Tennessee or wherever else people wanted in on that 4 slot. Do I think Ohio State caught a break? Yes. I mean, you go out on your home field and get pummeled in the last game of the season, and you still find a way to sneak in at number 4. But I didn't have a problem with it overall.
Yeah, I didn't either. I thought it's what it is. I want to jump into basketball real quick. We'll come back to football in a minute. But tonight, the Gators are hosting UConn, who's number 5 in America. Really good basketball team. Can the Gators match up? I don't know if they can match up with them, but home crowd, we know how hard it is to play on the road in college basketball. What do you see the Gators having to do to win this game tonight?
They're going to have to keep shooting the basketball well, and I say keep doing it well. I'm a little recency bias here. The game I had, they shot extremely well. And, I mean, the Will Richard kid, I don't know how long he can keep it up. I know you're not going to keep up 59% shooting from downtown all year long, but he is certainly shooting the ball at an alarming rate, and you can see why they're so excited to have him at a Belmont, because he opens things up for everybody else. You stretch the floor. You've got other shooters from other spots, like a Kowacie Reeves that can hit, and then all of a sudden you're more dangerous to guard. And one thing I've learned quickly about Todd Golden, I mean, he's all about analytics, and they want to lead the league in possessions, which is right now is what they do. It's them and Alabama neck to neck. The difference is Alabama's a more talented team, and look, Florida this year, like so many other jobs with new coaches, I mean, it's going to be an adjustment period. And the schedule that Florida has doesn't allow too much of that. You go play in the PK 80 or 90 or whatever it is, and now you play a team like UConn. And so you don't time the games like Stetson let you start to get better. Games like this is where you can potentially either get better. I mean, in a way, you do get better even if you don't win the game. But it's also a way you could also be exposed a bit. And I still think Florida's a team that has weaknesses, like so many do. It's a team that I'm trying to figure out. Like we already know what Colin Castleton is. Like that's a given. But who are these other players, and what are they going to be come conference play? Like, is Richard going to be able to be a true 3-point weapon game in, game out in the SEC? What is Bonham going to be? What is Lofton going to be? Does Kowacie Reeves, is he a consistent performer? How does Kugel perform as a freshman? There's just a lot of questions there that I think we're still learning. I think Coach Golden is still learning, quite frankly, about the hand that he's been dealt. I will say this. There's two different, just like football. You can go in the portal and just grab a bunch of guys. Doesn't mean it makes you better. I like the additions he made. I think the players that he got in the portal are actually positive assets, and that a lot of them know how to win. Like, for example, Belmont won 25 games last year. That's where Will Richard came from. they've got guys that not only have produced, but they know how to win. Contrast that with Mike White's class last year. He had a bunch of transfers, but they were all on terrible teams. Like none of them, they were all on teams that just lost, Shane. And I think that matters to me. I want players who know how to win and obviously care about winning coming in. So I think he's done pretty well in that regard.
Yeah, you bring a great point. It's you come from programs that know how to win. You win games. If you're used to losing, you just lose games. I don't know how else to explain it. Got a ton of texts and questions here for you, Mike. We'll try to hop through these a little bit. But first, at Chris Storing Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Storing Mortgage today, 352-244-0840. John asked, great question here, Mike. You've seen a lot of good quarterbacks play this year. Which quarterback do you think would be a good fit in Gainesville next year?
Well, there's got to be a second part to that question, right? And which one is willing to come to Gainesville and wants to leave with it?
Yeah, and has tons of offers from other schools.
Right, exactly. So I mean, you can bet if Florida is eyeing a certain quarterback and they're saying, "Boy, he would look good, he would look great in our offense." Well, there's probably a dozen other schools saying the same thing. So now, what makes your situation more attractive to this, that, and the other? And it used to be you could just say, "Well, it comes down to facilities, and it comes down to coaching, and it comes down to playing in the swamp." But now you got to throw in, well, who's getting a better NIL deal? And you and I are not privy to that. Well, you might be, but I'm certainly not. I don't know what's on the table and what's, what this school's offering compared to that school. I simply don't know. So there's a lot of quarterbacks that I think would be attractive and, quite frankly, be an improvement from what you had last year, which was an incredibly inconsistent and erratic player who flashed at times and at other times really struggled, almost like a DJ at Clemson, just making simple reads and throws. So there's a number of guys out there in the portal that can help improve this offense, and combined with what Billy's going to bring in recruiting and other players in the portal, will make it hum better than it did this past season. But I don't know who they seriously have an eye on, and more importantly, who seriously has an eye on Florida right now, because if you're a transfer portal quarterback, I mean, it is flat out free agency. It is the wild, wild west, and all these. It's just like recruiting a kid all over again. 17 years old at a high school. What do they want? What are they looking for? Only they really know that.
Yeah, and the problem that Florida has, yes, they want a established guy out of the portal, but as you stated, other schools are going to want that same player. And do the other schools have a highly regarded kid coming in January in the Jaden Rashada? I think that throws a loop into everything. So that's just my personal opinion.
That's a great point, because kids don't want to compete at that position because only one guy can play.
Yeah, and then if you do think about, let's just say Mike Morgan's a stud out there. We give Mike Morgan what he wants to come in here to be our quarterback, whether it's for 1 year or 2 years. Well, now what does Jaden Rashada think about that?
Mm-hmm.
Does he go into the transfer portal, or does he not sign with the Gators? So there's so much involved in this, and it drives me insane, quite honestly. It's exhausting to just think about it. But I do think our roster will be way, way better next year. John says, I think Florida was very fortunate to get their new facility done, because now all the money is going to NIL and the collective. Yeah, we needed that facility for a very, very long time. Alan says on the Titan Mar text line, the DJ that Gator fans want is DJ Lagway, a 2024 recruit that's supposed to announce decision today. Trolls trying to stir up trouble with the Clemson kid. Yeah, that's a good point. I try to tell people, I've had people say they've seen that we've offered the Clemson quarterback. I'm like, there is no way in the world that is even true or remotely true, because he can't play.
No confidence. If you watch that game, he on a simple little screen, little flare on the first play. He throws a dirt ball. And in that moment, you're just like, oh, my God. In baseball, we call it the yips. I mean, he's got the yips. He truly cannot get any consistent confidence going. And again, there's parallels that could be made there to DJ and Anthony Richardson, because they both look great coming off a bus, and they both can throw the ball a mile, and they have incredible athleticism. But then comes the productivity part. And, you know, if Florida had a really good number 2 quarterback, I'm not convinced that you wouldn't have seen a change this year. And in the case of Clemson, a lot of people are saying Dabo should have done this earlier, and maybe he should have, quite frankly, because clearly their number 2 was a better choice than number 1. But yeah, I don't know where I think he'd be better served playing at a smaller school, getting his confidence back, and just trying to. And we see that happen before, Shane. Guys that didn't necessarily work out at like the SEC or the ACC level, and they go maybe 1AA or they go Group 5, and they get their confidence back. And then, you know, I mean, even a smaller example would be like a guy like Jeff Driscoll, right? Mm-hmm. Driscoll, for whatever reason, it didn't work out at Florida with Will Muschamp. He goes to, was it Louisiana Tech?
Yep.
Yeah. And play great. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, had a cup of coffee in the NFL. You know, sometimes a change of venue and a change of level of competition does the body good.
Yeah, that's a great point. Bob on the Titan Amara text line says, Mike, who do you think wins the Heisman Trophy?
I think it's going to be Caleb Williams, but I'm going to tell you, it should be one of the closest votes ever. And I was in total agreement with the guys that made it to New York. I'm amazed at the people that criticize the Stetson Bennett candidacy, if you want to call it that. Look at his numbers. Remember, they blew people out. He wasn't in the fourth quarter, Shane. I mean, he basically was. I think he threw something like 30 passes all year in the fourth quarter because the games were out of hand. Look at what he did against top 25 competition. Look at what he did against Tennessee. Look at what he did in the first half of the SEC championship game. He could have thrown 7 touchdown passes. He threw 4 in the first half, and then they took their foot off the gas throwing the football. Oh, by the way, I mean, he's got a chance to win back-to-back national championships. So he absolutely belongs there. And Duggan belongs there. You know, I was really high on Blake Corum. Had he stayed healthy, I'm convinced he had a good chance at winning the award. And I feel bad for Hendon Hooker, quite frankly, because if he stays healthy, he's in New York as well. It's a really, really weird year. And whoever does win it, it's going to be like, okay, I'm not convinced he's the best player in college football, but somebody had to win the award. Unlike last year where voting for Bryce Young was a no-brainer and a slam dunk.
But I think Bryce Young deserves to be there as well with Hendon Hooker, because I think Bryce played better this year than he did last year.
Yeah, and that's a great point. You won't convince me he's not one of the best quarterbacks in college football, because he is.
Yeah. Do you think, because I was on a show yesterday, I think Caleb Williams is the best player in America right now. But a lot of people have issues with what he paints on his fingernails, and I get it. Do you think that's going to hurt him in the Heisman Trophy voting?
It'll hurt him a little, maybe. I don't know. I mean, trying to put my head or trying to get inside the head of some of these voters, quite frankly, there's some people that have votes that shouldn't have votes anymore. They're not people that are, I don't know how they got a vote in the first place, but they shouldn't still have one. Then you got people filling in their ballots and sending them in before the conference championship games. So my point on that is you got a lot of people voting that probably don't even know about that story. So I you know, every little thing counts in a close year. If this was a slam dunk year, probably wouldn't register on the radar, but in a close year, yeah, it could cost him some votes. I think there's some things he did in the last few weeks that weren't very attractive in general. It's not just writing on the fingernails. There was something that he tweeted out. It was kind of mocking Max Duggan a little bit. It's like, why are you doing that, man? Like, just play ball. Like, you're too good a player to do that kind of nonsense. So it could hurt a little, but I don't think it'll be a huge difference.
John says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law. We gave NC State Jacoby Brissett. It's time for the Wolfpack to return the favor. Devin Leary, he's a pretty good player. We could use him for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Before we get you out of here, Mike, give us a rundown. I know you got some basketball coming up. You got a couple of bowl games. Let all our listeners know what you have. Oh, and before you get to that, everybody wants to know your thoughts on Deion to Colorado. They know he's going to recruit, but what about game day coaching? How do you think he'll do?
I mean, I hope he gets really good coordinators around him. I've seen some of his staff, but he's going to need to have elite coordinators. I've done a few games at Colorado. That is not the Colorado that you and I grew up on in the 90s. It's a different vibe in Boulder. They've been really bad for a while. At times, I think people wondered if they really cared. Look, it's a splash hire in that it's going to give Colorado a boost of adrenaline that it's sorely needed. I am a little bit. I find it a little bit amusing that so many people are just convinced because Deion had 2 years at Jackson State, one of which he lost the Celebration Bowl, which is kind of like the HBCU championship a year ago. And then another of which where he had again a good season with Jackson State, that all of a sudden he's going to light the world on fire. But we just don't know. I love it just from an entertainment standpoint. I think it's going to be entertaining as hell to have him with that job and see what they do. So I'm glad, just from a fan standpoint, I'm glad it happened. But am I convinced it's going to be ultra successful? No, I have no idea. I think that there's going to be a lot of learning on the fly. It's going to be a situation where, they're going to get more players than they did without Deion for sure. But then they're going to be involved, I think, in a lot of close games. And that's when coaching really shows up the most. And we'll see if Deion's gang is up to it, see how it works out in a couple of years from now. I don't think there's going to be this mass immigration to Boulder because of Deion Sanders alone. Like, I get it. He's magnetic. He's in Affleck commercials. But that doesn't mean a bunch of five-star kids are going to be like, you know what, I want to play for Deion Sanders because of that. So I think it'll be very, very interesting. I'm glad he's got the opportunity, and I will be fascinated to see the results.
Yes, indeed. All right, give us your schedule real quick of your hoops games and your bowl games.
Okay, so I got a big triple header on Saturday here at the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, where Auburn plays Memphis and Penny Hardaway. That'll be on ESPN2. We've got LSU, Wake Forest, and then Clemson in the nightcap. So it's 3 games in a row. Dane Bradshaw and I will have the call on that. Then I'm in Miami the following week for another basketball tournament, which will have Florida State, which will have Missouri, among other teams. Got the Myrtle Beach Bowl after that, which has got UConn. It's been a hell of a story. Marshall, and you were talking about Florida State football. I'll have them in the Cheez-It Bowl against Oklahoma on the 29th, I believe. That'll be a very interesting matchup. I had Oklahoma earlier in the year when they actually had high hopes, and then they hit a terrible, terrible skid. Florida State obviously has got some confidence and momentum now, so we'll see how that shakes down. But I think both those teams will actually be very motivated for that game.
Yeah, and that could be the longest bowl game of the year because it's going to be like 55-50. So it will not be boring.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's why I'd rather have that than have the quadruple overtime game I had with Miami and Virginia where neither team scored a touchdown.
Right. Mike, good stuff as always, buddy. We appreciate your time. We'll talk to you next week. Okay. Thanks, Shane. Take care. That's Mike Morgan joining us on the Titan Tomorrow Hotline. He's brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give us a call at 352-240-1779. I think we're going to try to do a little Peachland Dental bowl pick'em contest. If our listeners want to get involved with that, we'll have our folks set that up where you can go on ESPN or CBS and pick the bowl games. Just do something fun and give away some prizes. That's going to do it for today's program. And I hope you have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we will have Brent Beard talking college football. We'll also have Tom Collette joining us from Madison, Wisconsin. I think that's where volleyball is. He'll give us a rundown of Lady Gator volleyball. They're in the Sweet 16, I believe. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.